Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 3, Chapter 14, text number 19. Yamahuratmano yardham Shreyaskamasya manini Yasyam swaduram adyasya Pumams charati vijvaraha. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O respectful one, a wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body because of her sharing all auspicious activities. A man can move without anxiety, entrusting all responsibilities to his wife. Purport. By Vedic injunction, the wife is accepted as the better half of a man's body because she is supposed to be responsible for discharging half of the duties of the husband. A family man has a responsibility to perform 5 kinds of sacrifices, namely Pancha Yajna, in order to get relief from all kinds of unavoidable sinful reaction incurred in the course of his affairs. When a man becomes qualitatively like the cats and dogs, he forgets his duties in cultivating spiritual values, and thus he accepts his wife as a sense-gratificatory agency. When the wife is accepted as a sense-gratificatory agency, personal beauty is the main consideration, and as soon as there is a break in personal sense gratification, there is disruption or divorce. But when husband and wife aim at spiritual advancement by mutual cooperation, there is no consideration of personal beauty or disruption of so-called love. In the material world, there is no question of love. Marriage is actually a duty performed in mutual cooperation, as directed in the authoritative Vedic scriptures for spiritual advancement. Therefore, marriage is essential in order to avoid the life of cats and dogs who are not meant for spiritual enlightenment. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So further, Kashyapa Muni is extolling the role of wife in a marriage because of her sharing the responsibilities of the man. Because she shares responsibility, she also shares all the auspicious results of such activities also. So, here it is said that he is called the better half of man's body. So, in one sense, in a grahastha ashrama, ideally speaking, it's like one body. In other words, one body having common objective. So, one half does one thing, the other half does the other thing. As it is explained here, the ideal family man is supposed to be engaged in 5 kinds of sacrifices every day. So, all the preparation, right from the morning, the wife is busy preparing all the ingredients, setting everything right, and the husband comes, he does the fire sacrifice, the wife cooks for the offering, etc. All these things, if you see, that this is a way of civilized life for progressing in spiritual life. That is the objective of the grahastha ashrama. So grahastha ashrama, when this higher ideal is not there in the minds of the partners, then it becomes only sense gratificatory exercise. Each is seeing the other as an object of sense gratification. Sense gratification does not necessarily mean only sense. Sense gratification, senses, that we have got several senses. We have got our gross senses, then mind is also a sense, intelligence is also a sense. So, gratifying each other, even false ego is also having its own gratification. So, if you look at it like that, Yeah, if the higher ideal is not there, what is the higher ideal? That is very clear. The higher ideal is that we work together to go back to Godhead, or even in a normal case, to work together for moksha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, for moksha. So we as Vaishnavas, we say it's going back to Godhead. That is actually the purpose of grihasthashrama. By the way, the focus of grihasthashrama is not sense gratification. By the way, sense gratification is there, which is unique kind of sense gratification is there in grihasthashrama between man and woman. That sense gratification is exchange of affection, love, all these kind of things also there. And then there is gross sense gratification, bodily sense gratification. Like this, there is a whole spectrum of gratification that happens within the grihastha ashrama. But actually, if you see, none of those things are actually to be taken gratification for the sake of gratification. Just like there is gratification everywhere. Even when you take prasadam, there is gratification for the tongue. Or a karmi, he takes food. There is gratification in the tongue. It is designed like that. So, nature has designed life in such a way, Krishna has designed life in such a way, that for the life to go on, there are certain gratifications. And that is tied up with those senses. If you look at it, if you look at the tongue, tongue, the main purpose is to enjoy. That is actually wrong perspective. There is enjoyment kept in the tongue so that you will eat in the design. Because you will eat, your life is sustained. Similarly, in sex, there is gratification incorporated in it. Different types. Gratification incorporated. Just like in tongue it is incorporated for the sake of survival. Same way, this is designed in the certain gratifications in grihastha ashrama. It is designed so that procreation happens. So the idea is, everything has a role to play according to the designer. So sense gratification is not sin, materially also, if it is done according to the design of the Creator. If you eat food, you have to taste. But if it is not offered, then it is sin. So gratification, same gratification. You take prasadam or as far as tongue is concerned, it is the same gratification. One it becomes sin, one is not sin, it is in line with the Lord's direction and it pleases the Lord. So prasad annadilabai. Four types of prasadam. Why there to describe four types? That means four types of enjoyment. There is nothing wrong in it. Chaturvida, see, Bhagavat Prasadam. That's it, no? Yeah, Chaturvida, see, Bhagavat Prasadam. Four types, juicy, tasty, etc., etc. So these varieties which are encoded in our body, for body to recognize four types of tastes or four types of food, these are all, when everything is done according to the commandment of the Lord, the Creator, it will pave one's path to progress in spiritual life. Therefore, Krishna says, I am sex life according to regulative principles. Now you cut according to regulative principles, I am sex life, that's wrong. That is wrong. That is sin. So, whether something is spiritual or not spiritual, whether it is permitted or not permitted, you cannot analyze it based on the gratification alone. You have to base it on the time, place, circumstances and who also. For whom it is said, I am sex life according to regulative principles. You see, that is only in the Grihastha ashrama. Otherwise it is not allowed. And it is not a big thing. Just like tongue taste is not a big thing. The same way, that is not a big thing. It is meant for a purpose. It will play that purpose. How the entire paradigm of life changes. If you say that I am living to taste food, and the other statement, I am tasting food so that I live. I taste food so that I live. Because I taste food so that I will eat and I will live. For survival. Look at the other paradigm. Tongue is given for tasting, therefore I am living to taste. I am living to taste varieties of things. Purpose is gone. Lord's purpose is not that. You have concocted a purpose. That is called sense gratification. That is got sense gratification. Parallel, take the same thing, you take it in Grihastha life. Here Prabhupada clearly says a very important statement. In the material world, there is no question of love. With respect to marriage, he is saying. Next sentence he is saying, marriage is actually a duty performed in mutual cooperation as directed by authoritative scriptures for spiritual advancement. So, we know that there is no love in this material world, not because somebody is withholding love, not because somebody is selfish, because a jiva has no capacity to love like that, even if he wants. He can love the Lord. To love another human being, always there will be condition. Always there will be condition. So it is a fact that love between the living entities is always meant for a third objective. And the third objective is for pleasure of the Lord. That is constitutional. Suppose a husband, wife, Krishna is not in the picture. They have third objective. We have to buy a site, we have to make a house, we'll have to have children, then we have to educate the children. All common objective, third objective. We'll educate the children and then, they should become big in society. It's a standard thing for karmis. Krishna is not in the picture. So there also, if you see even material, let's talk even material, material world itself if you take. If people simply get married on the illusion of love, it's illusion. Illusion means it's not possible. There has to be, it's a contract. You're thinking it is love, but actually it's a contract. You give me, I give you, it's an exchange. A civilized way of exchanging is marriage. Gross to subtle things, I give, you give, exchange, that's. So it is totally actually, in one sense, it's like a business if Krishna is not in the picture. The moment Krishna is in the picture, your objective is to please Krishna. That takes the line of a mutual cooperation, a meaningful cooperation for a meaningful objective, absolute objective of pleasing Krishna. The karmis, when they also, marriage also, it is a contract. That is why before getting married, you will see, what is this, what is that, whether life can go on together. Because they're meant to lead a life together. So they match. That exercise is being done. The parents, they all check out this boy, these parents check out the girls, so that what is their objective when they say, will they get along together? Objective is not Krishna consciousness, doesn't matter. Will they get along together is still the matter. So this whole idea of, love outside marriage is actually totally, it's an illusion. Even relatively, it is an illusion. For some external beauty reason, one may fall in love with somebody else. As it says here. When a wife is accepted as a personal gratificatory agency, personal beauty is main consideration. As soon as there is break in personal sense gratification, there is disruption or divorce. So if the higher objective is not the reason, then the marriage will break. And that is happening here because the basis for matching has become some infatuation, some, attraction of beauty, personal form, all these kind of things. Or women is attracted by the man's intelligence, position and all these kind of things. They don't sit together. The parents there's no opportunity for parents to say that, look, she is from one social background, you are from another social background. If conflict of culture is there, you will not get along together. Possible, because everybody is brought up differently. These are all the considerations that one sees before actually the parents check all these things. So the common point in Krishna conscious marriage or Krishna conscious relationship in the material world and material relationship is, the difference is the objective. Difference is the objective. But the fact remains that there is no love in this world. There is no pure love in this world. Then what is it that we receive? It's illusory love. There is no real love in this material world. Real love means you have no unconditional. You have no conditions you are asking back. You are only offering love. You can do that only with Krishna. It's not possible. Pure love cannot be defined like that between the jivas. Krishna has to be in the center. Krishna has to be the object of pleasure in all contract between human beings, all arrangement between human beings, all cooperative arrangement between human beings. Marriage is a cooperative arrangement between human beings. So, in the modern minds are brought up in a different culture, and westernization in India is also sweeping so much that culture also comes into our youngsters, and the values of our youngsters are also changing. Considerably they have changed already. Naturally, if you leave it to the youngster, who does not know the realities of life, the parents know the realities of the life, youngsters don't know the realities of life. For him, that time the reality is attraction, as Prabhupada says. He is assessing everything, that whether there will be a good exchange of sense gratification. That's all he will assess. You cannot blame him, because that is his age or that is her age. So when youngsters get into wedlock together, by luck something may survive. But otherwise you will see that the original purpose, when it is defeated, when the minds don't get along together, they separate. Now Vedic tradition, whatever it is, they stay together. There is tolerance, because the starting point was not that. Starting point is whether I get together, once parents have chosen, whether I get along together or not, I have to stay together for this purpose of liberation, for the purpose of executing the duties as a human being. By mutual cooperation, I can go back to Godhead. That is the actual idea of marriage, as Prabhupada is saying. So all these illusions about love and all It's there, but it's all conditional. One should understand that it is, I give love. If the other person stops giving love, you will stop giving love. That is why it's not called love. If one partner starts giving attention, stops giving love, all this kind of affection, all these things, the other person will not continue. That other person also will stop. This is conditional. Or the other person will complain and then, so it's very clearly it is an exchange. It goes in the name of love, subtle body needs, gross body needs are there, subtle body needs are there. Ultimately you see it is exchange of needs because the soul is not the body. If you demand love from someone, doesn't mean that your soul is asking that. No. Another body, another part of your body is your subtle body, another part of your body is mind. Mind is the emotional body. The emotional body is, you're not giving what I need for my emotional body. The woman may say, I don't want anything from you, but simply I want love from you. Give attention at least to the family, he should say. So that is all right, attention. That's what you want. You give me love means what? For my body. For my emotional body I need. You give me that. I don't want anything from you, but I want only love, you say. But that love is for your emotional body. So unless one is above the bodily concept of life and Krishna is the goal of life, we have to admit the fact that there are certain things which are favorable in devotion service. We need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to defend, we need all these things. Similarly, subtle body needs something. So all these things are mutually arranged for mutual cooperative exchange, and then that is the purpose of. No, there is no esoteric purpose in married life, according to Vedic thing. It is known that ultimately husband has to split, wife has to split, the soul has to go away, and soul has to go back to. They came into a body and they traveled together. At the end of the journey, one has helped each other for a common objective, which is a fruit for both of them, and they split. This is marriage. We have the realistic thing, realistic understanding. So this is a very dangerous culture, as Prabhupada says, to look at wife as sense gratificatory agency. To look at wife as sense gratificatory agency. So, an object for me to exploit. That is a very dangerous thing. That is when expectations are not met, then the husband gets agitated, he gets angry, sometimes he beats. Why he beats? Something I expected you are not giving me. Because it's sense gratificatory. You are a sense gratificatory agency for me. You have to supply me enjoyment. This is the thing. So very significant, deep statements Prabhupada has made this. When a man becomes qualitative like cats and dogs, he forgets his duties in cultivating spiritual value. This is a key thing. Again Prabhupada below also says, duty performed in mutual cooperation. There is an obligation, when you get a human form of life, an obligation to yourself. Not to anybody, to yourself, not to God also, to yourself. With great difficulty one gets a human form of life. One has obligation to oneself. What is the obligation to oneself? For its own welfare, for one's own welfare. Everybody is given free will in this material world. So you have to feel an obligation to your own self, to yourself. Yes, I have to advance in spiritual life. How do I do it? Similarly, the other partner feels obligated to her own self to fulfill the objective of human life. There is an objective. If I am born as a human being, I have a responsibility to myself. Otherwise, what is the meaning of responsibility to myself? That I don't destroy myself. I don't do something which is not for my welfare, not for my good, not for my eternal good. So that's a sense of responsibility. Self, you have a responsibility to yourself. Many times we say, okay, I have a responsibility to somebody else. I have a responsibility to somebody else. When you say responsibility to somebody else, then that person's desire is coming in. But here, what we are talking is, the human form of life, if you get, there is a responsibility to your own self. To your own self to achieve the purpose of that human life. So that is the focus. If that focus, one can be in whatever ashrama or varna, one has to enter into a relationship and execute Krishna consciousness jointly. That is the purpose. Like even yesterday I explained, nobody should get into Grihastha ashram thinking that my senses are disturbed, therefore I should get into Grihastha ashram. That is not at all correct attitude. If one wants to get into Grihastha ashram, one should understand. Because then if he gets into Grihastha ashram in that mood, he will lead to frustration. Later on he will find out that, why I got stuck like this, he will think. But if there is a higher objective, then it will sustain, mutually cooperate and carry on in Krishna consciousness. So there is a risk from the man. There is in a Krishna consciousness movement, there is a risk for both man and woman. If the woman is very serious about Krishna consciousness, there is a risk that if the man is not Krishna conscious, if he is having a sex gratificatory paradigm, and it works the other way also. Man is risking, if the woman is in a sense gratificatory paradigm, what will happen? If the primary paradigm, sense gratification is there in life, I explained that. It has a role, but it is not primary. Just like let's say, so many of us are living together, right? Cooperating. Why? For a common objective. We all want to go back to Godhead. Sense gratificatory is not the reason for International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Right? Ashram, so many of us are living in the ashram. The purpose is not sense gratification. Their objective is there. Reduce that to two. One and one opposite sex. That is, male and female together. Therefore, it is called Grihastha Ashrama. All right, instead of staying in Brahmachari Ashram, you stay in a Grihastha Ashrama. Your objective doesn't change. The same objective which was there in the Grihastha Ashram is there, that's all. In the Brahmachari Ashram, same spirit is there, how to make advancement in spiritual life. Companionship, helping each other. So that is the way it is. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In marriage, a man and woman comes to get together, but after some time they have to part away. It means they go to spiritual world, they are different. But many times I have heard devotees that if you are here, you are Krishna conscious, your center is Krishna, you get the same family in spiritual world.
All this, who said all this? Same family you will get and all this. Every family will be trying to, we don't want same family. You lived with the same family, enough of it you have had. That is why you want to go back to Godhead. You want to go to Vaikuntha, be anxiety free, without all this entanglement. See, emotional attachments between living entities are not always comfortable. There is a sense of possessiveness. In the sense of possessiveness, in the material world, the relationships are all, they are not free. There is a sense of you are mine. After you get married only you will know. You are mine, how forcefully it will come. Each other. Sense of possessiveness will be so much. And sense of possessiveness comes always, the soul will rebel that. Leave me free. I want to do what I want, the husband will say. Wife will say, I want to do what I want. So every emotional attachment in the material world, anybody who is spiritualist, gradually he realizes that I have to become free from all this attachment. It is not to encourage. That is why it is a means. Marriage is a means for liberation, for moksha. It is a means for liberation. So what is the question? So that's not true. That statement is not true. So where is it said? Where is it said? Which many? I don't hear any devotees in Krishna conscious movement saying that, because it's not there anywhere. Prabhupada doesn't say that. The same family will go. It is not. It is a necessary. It's a first you have to understand graham andakupam. You don't want andakupam to go to the spiritual world. Dark well it is called. So how can you go to the spiritual world in the dark well? It may be a dark well in terms of from Sattuguna to Rajaguna. When Sattuguna is also called dark well. Every way it is a kind of good or bad, you see it is spiritually unpleasant, ultimately. Possessiveness is unpleasant. My family, this thing is un-Krishna conscious. Vasudeva Kutumbam, there is only one family, Krishna. We are all amshas of Krishna, we are part of Krishna. That family we are trying to go. This family spirit transforms to that family, one family. And one father who is unlimited, who can have unlimited children. And he has got the capacity to maintain unlimited. He has got the capacity to give love to unlimited. Not only there, even now, that unlimited father is in your heart. Every jiva's heart to give personal attention to satisfy your perverted desires in this material world. Such is the love of that father. That family we want to go back. We want to go back to Godhead. Any other question? Jai Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.